guys, gals, aliens, whoever's watching. Today what I would like to introduce is the simplest, cheapest engraving tools that you can get a hold of. As usual, I apologize, the road traffic's buzzing by and the birds are going bananas, but life moves on. So before I talk about this, though, I'd like to give a shout out to two guys for very generous donations, and those guys would be Richard Chargois and Brian Haugen. Thanks very much, fellas. So, on to what I want to talk about. Concrete or masonry nails, the fluted type. These are made from higher carbon steel because they have to be driven into obviously concrete or masonry work. I'll wait for the ambulance to buzz by. Right. And so they have to be hardened steel or have to be a higher carbon steel. And they also have a zinc coating or galvanizing, but that's neither here nor there. So if you don't have access to maybe better engraving tools, this can do the job in a pinch for some people. So preferably you want to get the longer ones. Some of these are like 6 inches or 5 inches long. And you'll be surprised how long you can go with these without dulling the tip too. You know, just tapping along, engraving your design into a piece of steel. And so what I would find these to be useful for is making like a logo mark, or maybe to make texturing bars. And maybe I'll show that in another video, but I was going to fool around and just try to make a pretty simple logo mark and using these concrete nails. So, and I've written down, or I've drawn the design. I wanted to make this kind of a very simple zigzag line looking conifer tree. So for that, I have I've got a small piece of O2 steel here, and I'll use these here to try to engrave that into this and then see how it works. I probably won't even fuss about heat treating this though. I'll just grave it in, heat up a piece of steel, and see if I can mark it and get that general design. So, and then as far as working the ends of these, you could just leave them as is, maybe sharpen them a bit, or for some, what I've done is I put maybe like a kind of a cape chisel profile on some. Any profile that you want to work on these will be fine. Maybe you want to first take off that point, and then, like I said, work them with your bench grinder or an angle grinder, with it, whichever way you want, or even files. Okay, so what else am I forgetting? Yeah, okay, so holding on to these can be a little bit difficult though. I've got my little chisel hammer here, and I'll just I use that to work this along, but holding onto this such a fine stem here can be a little tough. So what you could also do is you get yourself just a short piece of wood, something that's a little easier to hold on to, and I've just drilled a hole straight through and then tapered it a bit on the end that'll come out, and then you just basically insert the nail, tap it through, and then there you go. You've got yourself, a little bit ergonomically friendly engraving tool. And like I say, you can work that end any way you want. I find typically the way that they're pointed like that works pretty well for a lot of operations. And then, the idea of this is you're not, obviously you're not, using it like a chisel where you're pushing it along. You're going to tap it along. So having that on that end, helps for striking. So just as simple as that. I think these concrete nails, for a few pennies each or so, you'll be surprised what you could do. So yeah, let me get a go at it, and we'll see. I'm no Michelangelo, so don't expect miracles. But I think for someone with a better, keener eye, or for this style of work, these simple tools could work pretty well. I have a friend here in Taiwan actually he actually showed me this. He does non-ferrous metal work, and he does some pretty intricate scrolling designs and the like, just using stuff like this. So, alrighty, let me get to it. White ink would be better, but I only have black with such a fine tip. Also, I'm leaving the piece of steel rusty, so as I engrave along, it'll help me to see where my lines are better. It doesn't matter so much for this, but remember, if you're doing something like initials, you have to reverse the design on the touch mark itself. Right off the bat, I feel the piece of wood for the handle should be longer, or the nail should be shorter. Don't copy my bad habit of constantly using my fingers to wipe the piece. That burr can be pretty sharp. I find that I'm wanting to hold these nails sort of like you hold a pen. It just seems to me more natural. Maybe it's because of the size, the small size of this piece. I'm not sure. I seem to be making better headway with this nail, and it led me to the observation that some of these nails seem much harder than others. Having a magnifying glass really can help. So here you can see I shortened the nail quite a bit. And for me it just works much better. This way I can hold on to most of the wood, and it also allows me to rest my hand on my vise. Sped up, the background noise sounds like an F1 racetrack, for crying out loud. If progress is slower than you want, another thing you might try is to use a nail with a bit of a chisel point on the end to depress material downward. So this is the last pass, graving with the nails. The actual time that I have in on this piece is exactly what you see. When I take into account the footage that's sped up, I would say the total time is maybe just a half an hour. I just want to gently sand off the burrs, and also that'll help me to see some of the high and low spots. I'm keeping the perimeter as is, sort of a picture frame style. Just a quick test on a piece of wood. And now on to steel. I will harden this later, but I want to try it and see what else it needs. I'm pretty sure I need to go a little bit deeper, and I prefer it to be annealed for further work. Voila! It needs work, but it does seem like an evergreen. Catch you guys, gals, and aliens next time.